Retrieval, getting information out. How do we get information out of memory? Remembering an event requires taking in the memory or encoding and then storing the memory. For many, memory is simply recalling information or retrieving information that's not in our conscious awareness. Psychologists say memory is any sign you've learned something and retained it. Recognition is identifying something you've previously learned. When you take a multiple choice test, you are using recognition to select correct answers. Relearning something is an assessment of the amount of time saved when you learn something for a second time. Even if Bill Nye never became famous, many of his classmates will be able to recognize his picture paired with his name in their high school yearbooks. This is because they once learned who he was and learned what he looked like along with his name. Your brain will recognize who he is from the information it has stored in your memories. When you relearn something, it is usually much easier to understand. When your teacher is reviewing information before a test, you usually are able to quickly relearn things you may have forgotten from earlier in the unit that you're in. Retrieval cues are very helpful in retrieving memories. Your brain, when taking information in, will create associations to help the memory to be more accessible. When you're sitting in class, you associate a classmate's name with your surroundings, your mood, and even your seat in that class. Mnemonic devices are another form of retrieval cues, such as Vorgy, Biv, and Holmes. The more retrieval cues you have, the better the chance you have at remembering something and being able to recall said memory. Priming is a way our brain activates associations and is usually an unconscious process.
In this section, we are going to talk about how external context and internal emotions influence memory retrieval. External context, such as your environment, and internal emotions, such as happiness, can greatly affect one's memory retrieval. Putting yourself back into the context where you experience something can prime your memory retrieval. For example, imagine you are taking notes at your desk at home and you realize you have to sharpen your pencil. You walk downstairs but then cannot remember why. After returning to your desk, you remember that you needed to sharpen your pencil. This happens because in one context, which is at your desk, you realize your pencil needs sharpening. When you go downstairs into a different context, you have a few cues to lead you back to that thought. When you are once again at your desk, you are back in the context in which you encoded the thought. Being in a context similar to the one we've been in may trigger the experience of déjà vu. Déjà vu is the eerie sense that I've experienced this before. Cues from the current situation may subconsciously trigger retrieval of an earlier experience. 2/3 of us have experienced this, but it happens most commonly to well-educated, imaginative young adults, especially when tired or stressed. Some believe that the sense of déjà vu is actually reincarnation or precognition. Reincarnation is the sense that I've experienced this in a previous life. Precognition is the feeling of I viewed this scene in my mind before experiencing it. Why we feel as though we recognize the situation and how our memory produces déjà vu can be explained in several ways. A current situation may have cues that retrieve an earlier experience, or a situation seems familiar when it is moderately similar to several events, or they could occur because of dual processing.
Experiences in the past may have aroused a specific emotion that later primes to recall its associated events. Why do states matter? State dependency. Why we learn in one state, drunk or sober, may be more easily recalled when we are in that state again. Mood congruent memory is the tendency to recall experiences that are consistent with one's good or bad mood. For example, if Jamie's in a bad mood, Katie is in a good mood. What are their current moods after 5 minutes? Well, it's simple. They will still be in the same moods they were already in due to the past experiences.
Activity introduction. As some students who participate in sports may know, once receiving a concussion, you have to take a cognitive test. This is also known as the impact test. This evaluation will test memory, concentration, and ability to recall information. To demonstrate some of our vocabulary, everyone will participate in a replica impact test. Activity instructions. Several designs will pop up for short periods of time. Try to recall these designs at the end of the video. Activity 2. Try to remember which shape belongs to which number. Now use the paper handed out to you to write down the answers to the questions as they appear. You will be able to check your answers at the end. Here are 3 examples of possible mnemonic devices. You can associate the heart with the number 2 by saying a phrase like, 2 people are in love. You can associate a star with the number 5 by using the phrase, a star has 5 sides. You can associate the moon with the number 8 by using a phrase like, the moon will be out at 8 tonight. Can you recall the designs from the beginning of the video?